disruptive.
America that I fought for.
Weird thing to happen. So one of the biggest things to note about politics, especially when you're in a huge campaign filled with conglomeracies and oligarchs and really the top tier of the duopoly, is that when you go on to interviews, a lot of the times these campaigns are going to feed you questions to the interviewer. Make sure that the interviewer stays on track and doesn't ask anything outside the box. Makes the politician feel comfortable being a shill and a propagandist for the rest of the establishment. And this happened recently in Philadelphia when Joe Biden went on to a radio program and the interviewer got fed questions, which Joe Biden then screwed up answering those questions, and they fired the radio host. To show you how much control and detriment they have against exposing Joe Biden, exposing politicians, and how they want to harness the media as much as possible. That's why a lot of the corporate media in America and North America, and pretty much around the world, is capsulated by the corporate estate to not expose the horrificness of the corporate estate. So here's what happened here. This is a headline saying radio station cuts ties with host who revealed she only asked President Biden questions fed to her by campaign. Which, no doubt, we have seen how many politicians throughout all the years been doing this. And media outlets have been caught doing this. They've always done this. They've always cultivated this way. Even during the presidential debates, it was noted and proven that Hillary Clinton in 2016 was given the questions from the moderators before the debate. So she knew she was getting what she was getting in for. That she wasn't hold contempt. That she was able to fabricate with her PR team elaborate sentences and elaborate answers to make her sound like she knows what she's talking about. This is nothing new. This is nothing new. But I think there's a deeper story than what this headline is representing, because what happened afterwards is more interesting than what just sees. So WURD, this is from Hotspot, WURD Radio cuts ties with Andrew Lawful Sanders, who admitted yesterday on CNN that she was given pre-approved questions from the Biden administration prior to the interview on the Philadelphia radio station. Now she's fired. WRD Radio is not a mouthpiece for the Biden or any other administration, said the radio show in a statement following this termination. So here's her on CNN speaking about this. And I do apologize because I think there is a bit of background audio overlapping, like underneath it, embedded. But here's what her statement was on CNN after her termination, when she revealed that even being hand-fed questions by the administration told their managers at this radio station to fire her.
You asked 4 questions, and maybe that's what you were allowed to ask by the campaign or the White House, but they were essentially the same questions, both interviews, about accomplishments, progress in your respective state, what's at stake in the election, what he has to say about his debate performance, and what he would say to voters who think their vote doesn't matter or might sit this election out. Were those questions given to you by the White House, or did you have, or the campaign, or did you have to submit questions ahead of this interview?
The questions were sent to me for approval. I approved them.
Okay, so the White House sent the questions to you ahead of the interview?
Yes.
Okay.
I got several questions, 8 of them, and the 4 that were chosen were the ones that I approved.
Okay. And the reason I ask is not a criticism of either of you. It's just that if the White House is trying now to prove the vim, vigor, acuity of the president, I don't know how they do that by sending questions first before the interview so that the president knows what's coming.
So she approved the questions that came to her. So even when she did the job of kind of basically being a drone for Biden to go on this interview, get the questions that were already prepped for him, and able to just showcase how professional he can be and still capable of being president. She even said that, like, I went with it. They gave her questions. I selected 4 out of the 8 that they gave to me, and even went along with it. So why did she get fired? Did she get fired on the fact that revealing what everyone knows, that the corporate media consolidates with presidential campaigns and with primaries and with politicians to coincide, preempted questions? No, I don't think that, because everyone knows that. Everybody is keen to know that in these state affairs, in corporate media spheres, they're always going to give you pre-approved questions. There's always this kind of like pre-interview subject matter to make sure you're okay enough to go on camera and you're not going to steer outside the line. You're not going to go off course. You've seen this throughout all the time. So I don't think that's why she got fired. But I think she got fired in the fact that it still made Joe Biden look bad. Because even asking those questions on the radio show in Philadelphia, even when they had time to prep and they could have sat Joe Biden down and gave him direct word answers to respond to these questions that they handpicked and wrote to this interviewer, it still made him look like a complete idiot. And you'll see why in a second, because here's one of the responses from that radio show.
I remember as a Catholic kid growing up in an area where Catholics didn't get elected. I'm the first president to get elected statewide in the state of Delaware when I was a kid. Well, I looked at John Kennedy and said, well, he got elected. Why can't I get elected? By the way, I'm proud to be, as I said, the first vice president, first black woman to serve with a black president. I'm proud of the first black woman in the Supreme Court. There's just so much that we can do, because together there's nothing. Look, this is the United States of America. I remember as a Catholic.
So he befuddled his own answer that they prepped for. So my hunch of this is, and I don't know how certain this is due to the fact that this is just an assumption of mine, is that this woman got fired, even though after she accepted these questions, approved 4 of them out of the 8 that were sent to her by the Biden administration that they had time to prep and coincide together. The reason for this is the fact that even with the prep, it still made Joe Biden look bad. And because it further damaged his reputation, which it's not hard to do at this point, that's why she got fired. Because I'm sure the managers of that radio station were in contact with the Biden administration, with the White House, and there was probably a back and forth. They probably listened to this interview and thought, "Oh my God, how the hell can you make this look bad? How the hell we gave you questions. We gave you exactly what you're supposed to say in this interview, and somehow you made our guy still look bad." But this is all Joe Biden. This is all Biden's befuddled brain. This is Joe Biden's melting brain. Say he's the first black female president. And I remember being, a kid and being president in Delaware and the glory days. And we had like this guy in the Supreme Court. There's a lot of stuff, Jack. A lot of stuff. Corn Pop would be proud. But I think that's the takeaway. I think that is what really happened in that circle, is that this woman got questions submitted by the Biden administration, which everybody knows that is a popular practice within corrupted politics. It's no secret to anybody So that can't be the reason why she got fired. But she got fired in the fact that they had time to prep and rehearse and do all this stuff, and yet it still made Joe Biden even more demented. And they couldn't easily find a way to make him look good. They can trick people or come up with some sort of scheme or scenario to make this work out. And I have a feeling that the Biden administration, the White House, told the managers of this radio station that, yeah, you have to fire this lady because you made our guy look bad. That's what I'm insinuating. But that's just my opinion on it. I don't know if that's for certain. Like I said, there's not really any more take of this story. There's not really more insight to this. Just in the fact that it just seems bizarre that a woman gets fired because of something that has been notably practiced within politics and corrupted corporate media. Because if that was the case, Dick Tapper would be fired, Anderson Cooper would be fired, Chris Wallace would be fired. Any person pretty much who has moderated a debate, interviewed presidents, prime ministers, any sort of politician whatsoever would no doubtly be fired. Even most top-notch celebrities. Top-notch celebrities, they get, questions given from their PR people and their managers and their agents given to those news networks, or the news networks gives them prep interview questions, and then they can figure out if they're capable enough of being on camera. Oh, is this guest okay enough to stay within the lines of our establishment drone media? Because we can't have a human interaction. We can't actually talk and engage like normal people. Because apparently they can't do that with Biden. No doubtably, they can't do that with someone with a melting brain. And that makes me think that that's why that woman got fired. Because she did everything that she was told to do. And yet she still gets thrown under the bus.